If you are suffering from a lower back flare-up, keep watching because I will go over exactly what not to do and what you need to do from the second after a flare-up to getting back to life pain-free. A flare-up will no longer put you in a state of fear. You will recover faster from them. And if you get stronger and stronger in these 8 exercises that I will show you today, your flare-ups will happen less often and maybe you won't ever have a flare-up again. Unless you're like me and you intentionally cause a flare-up to happen by pushing your physical limits. Now, last week I did exactly that. And the reason I did this, the reason I overstressed my spine to cause a flare-up, because this will help me understand how to progress a spine that's in pain to a spine that's pain-free, keeping somebody out of back pain. So last week I put myself through 4 really hard basketball days, hard running, jumping, cutting on concrete. And I usually only do 1 day every 1 to 2 weeks. And to add to that, I didn't get any good sleep, good recovery every single night of that week. So my recovery was really bad, and on the 7th day, I hit my limit. I was actually very thankful for this, and it's probably a good thing that I didn't get very good sleep, because if I was getting good sleep and I was recovering well, this may have taken, a few weeks to months to find that limit. And I'm not really sure. As of right now, filming this, it is Saturday, March 15th, and I had a flare-up on Monday the 10th. As of right now, I have very little soreness left. And I judge how my spine feels based on the second that I wake up every morning, because that's usually when it's the worst. That's usually when you can feel your pain. That's usually when you can feel your soreness the most. And also, my movement was limited by intense soreness / pain for only 2 to 3 days. Now, my recovery time may be a little bit different than yours, because I was testing my joints, my ligaments, my tendons with really hard and fast movements, jumping, running, cutting. And I've also been training and building all of the muscle and all of the other tissue in and around the spine for 3 years now. And because of that, my body is able to do more, to recover a little bit faster. And I'm still able to move with a little bit more range of motion than the average person during a flare-up. In this particular flare-up that I'm going through, I've been feeling the bones of the spine and actual pelvis, and it feels like the ligaments, the tendons, all of the joints are super sore. And that's really the only thing that is sore. I have no symptoms of overusing the muscles. I haven't been experiencing any muscle spasms or muscle cramps or burning pain through my spine muscles or anything like that. But I couldn't get out of bed normally without intense pain. Or intense, it's almost like a very, very intense soreness, but it feels like pain. And I couldn't stand up from a seated position in a little bit more slouched position, especially after sitting for like longer than 5 minutes, without using all of my upper body strength and using my legs as much as I possibly could. This soreness pain was so intense. It like told my body to like stop moving, lay back down, even though my muscles felt good. And I felt like I could push through that pain pretty easily because of that. But at the end of the day, it was a really good reminder of how I used to move around this pain and try to figure out how to cause as little pain as possible, especially during a flare-up. That's very, very important for you to do, is to find ways to minimize the pain of your daily tasks with the goal of returning to those daily tasks in a normal fashion without causing any pain. Now, regardless of what this flare-up is like, regardless of what my flare-up is like, this approach I'm about to show you works for all flare-ups, even if yours is more muscle related. Starting out, some exercises may be a little bit more sensitive than others, but these are the most important exercises for you to do. This is the most important way to approach a flare-up. So I will take you through what not to do and what to do after your flare-up, all the way until you are out of pain. And it's pretty simple, easy to follow stuff that anybody can do from home with minimal equipment. Okay. All you need is a band. If you have access to a back extension machine, that's going to be the best but you can also use a Bosu ball in replacement of that. And what I will show you today consists of a lot of what I take people through in the beginning phase of permanently eliminating their back pain as well. So it's really going to help you, A, get out of a flare-up as fast as possible, healing the best way, recovering quickly, and B, this will help you permanently eliminate your back pain over a period of time as long as you stick with these exercises and you start mastering them, getting stronger, increasing your range of motion at your pain-free level. Okay, now the first what not to do. You need to abandon the Rice method. And the Rice method is rest, ice, compression, and elevation. It doesn't really work for healing after an injury. It doesn't really help recovery, and it actually hinders recovery. And the Rice method was proposed by Dr. Gabe Mirkin in 1978, and he later abandoned that method in 2014 because it didn't work. Unfortunately, if you Google what to do after an injury or acute injury, rest method is what's going to pop up. The reason Rice doesn't work very well is because it reduces blood flow. And this prolongs the healing process because blood is the essence of our life. This is a biblical pattern, and it's laid out in the Bible that the blood is the life of the flesh. It heals, it delivers, it removes. It is the healer, it's the deliverer, it is the remover. The more blood flow that we can get, the more life that will be delivered to our flesh in the form of nutrients, the more healing that takes place in our muscles, our ligaments, our tendons, our bones, all of the things in our body, and the more waste products and inflammation and toxins that build up and get in the way of this healing process can be flushed out and removed. The next what not to do depends on how severe the pain is. Don't reach for pain relieving medication because they have lots of side effects, and some actually slow down the healing process of many tissues like muscle, tendon, cartilage, bone. And this healing is generally needed the most when people take these pain relievers, right? The only reason you're taking a pain reliever is to reduce pain somewhere in your body that needs healing. And unfortunately, some of them also prevent some of that healing from taking place. So you may go through this early phase of recovery without fully healing from the injury. And this is going to produce a lot of long-term problems down the road. So if you can, avoid taking pain relievers. Okay. Instead, your recovery method should include movement, blood flow, and rest. Those are the big three that I've seen work the best. You have 4 priorities in the first few days after your flare-up. Get out of pain, blood flow, movement, and rest. So let's say you pick something up off the ground and you blow out your back, or you tweak your back playing a sport, whatever it is. Now you are in back pain. Your first priority, the second after a flare-up, is to keep those muscles moving if possible. This is going to help blood flow go into the area and flush out of the area, bringing healing and nutrients as soon as possible after the injury. Now, the pain may be there, but do something that doesn't cause the pain to worsen, like walking or getting a workout in using small muscles like calves or arms and burning out those muscles to get really good blood flow to the whole body. And maybe move your back just a little bit if you can. If you are in tons of pain, rest and time is going to be your best medicine, but don't end the day without getting a good dose of heat to bring a lot of blood flow to the area. The best way to do this is through sauna or taking a hot bath. Making sure that you get as much blood flow the day of as you can is super important. This is a crucial time because the next morning is going to be when you're the most stiff, when you're the most in pain, and getting as much blood flow as possible will help you heal as much as possible before that time comes. Okay, now the next morning rolls around. This is generally going to be the worst of it, and you'll be stiff and probably in more pain than the day before. Now, sometimes you may be in a little bit less pain than the flare-up itself, but generally you're going to be experiencing the worst of it at this time. As soon as you get up, if you can, get in a hot bath, go to a sauna, take a hot shower, something like that to get blood flow flowing through your spine, flowing through the area, removing all of the inflammation that you can and all of the waste products that were created while you were sleeping, while your body was healing the area. And this will bring new nutrients and more healing as well. This will also help with your pain and also with your stiffness. And this will set you up for success for the rest of the day and the rest of the healing process. The next thing that you'll need to do is find some sort of movement activity that you can do that's pain-free or with very minimal pain and that doesn't aggravate it. Now that's really important because if you aggravate the pain, it's just gonna get worse. Now the pain may be present and that's okay, but make sure it doesn't worsen. This could be a walk, this could be a short workout using the small muscles, like I said earlier, your calves or your arms, getting a good burn in those muscles, doing a few stretches if you can, whatever little bits of movement that you can keep throughout the day is going to be very important. My favorite first thing to do is to push and pull a sled if I can. Okay, my first and favorite thing to do is push and pull a sled or use a resisted treadmill, which I will show you the resisted treadmill today, to burn out the leg muscles safely, easily, and I can go really slow on the sled push and pull. And I can also get those leg muscles burning and start getting those muscles below the spine and a little bit in and around the spine to start moving just a little bit and bring blood flow to the area specifically. I'll show you why this is my favorite later. Lastly, for day one, you're gonna get more blood flow getting into the sauna, again, hot tub, hot shower, something like that, to boost your blood flow before you go to bed and stop moving for 8 hours. Now for the next few days, you're going to work towards being able to do one set for 4 exercises that I will go through. Still with a priority of getting as much blood flow as possible without working through pain, without aggravating the pain. Your objective is to get a pain-free muscle burn in all of these movements. There's actually 5 exercises, including the sled. So the sled is first, and then there's 4 exercises that follow. So if you pretend that this is a sled, push the sled, and then you'd have a strap around your waist that connects to the sled, and then you'd pull it backwards. With a resisted treadmill or a treadmill turned off in your gym, you can do the same thing here. Because the resistance of the belt makes your muscles work a lot harder and will get you a good burn in your leg muscles. You can go forward like this and then flip around and put your butt on the treadmill and you can go backwards. Now what's awesome about this, especially going forward, is it's the basic level of building your back ability. Now your back ability is what it's able to do pain-free. And the reason it's the lowest level is because for every little bit that your shoulders move in front of your hips, your spine muscles are working and need additional strength there as opposed to standing straight up with your shoulders on top of your hips. So in this bent forward position, I can use my hands to take some weight off and assist myself into that position. And then I can start moving my legs, getting a lot of movement in the lower spine that's safe, that doesn't cause any pain, and I can burn out my leg muscles. Now I like to go 30 seconds forward and then flip around and 30 seconds backward. And going slow, especially after a flare-up, is going to be important. But flipping back in between forward and backward every 30 seconds for 5 minutes is going to get your leg muscles a good burn, get some blood flow through the spine, and you'll feel much, much better after just doing this one exercise. Once you're done there, I like to do some calf exercises to further the warm-up. So I do an FHL calf raise on the wall, feet together, heels just off the ground, hips forward, getting a good burn in the calf muscles. I'll do about 20 to 25 of those, then flip around, getting the other side, the tibialis muscles, lifting the toes, controlling down, same thing, again 20 to 25 here, then bending the knees and doing one more calf raise. Doing about 25, sometimes 30 of these, getting a good burn in the lower calf muscle as well. Once I get through that warm up, I'm generally feeling much, much better by this point. And this may be a point where you stop. Maybe the first couple of days, if your pain is really bad, you may stop here, call it a day, you're feeling good. But these next 4 exercises are gonna get you a lot of pain relief as long as you are not working through pain. The first exercise of the 4 is the hip flexor raise. Hold on to something sturdy, stand on one leg, put the other leg out in front of you, and lift your knee as high as you can, feeling those muscles on the front of your hip. Now after your flare up, don't worry about your range of motion. This is good, but work towards getting your knee above your hip, anywhere from 10 to 30 reps. It depends on your strength level. If you're stronger, you may be able to do 30 reps really easily, getting a good burn. But if you haven't trained these muscles, getting to 10 reps is gonna be pretty difficult and will get you a good burn. Next is the outer hip burnout. This is a series of 3 movements lasting 30 seconds each to burn out those muscles in the outer hip. Now, sitting in this position may be difficult for you starting out. So leaning to the side with your elbow on the ground, keeping your body in a straight line will help you do this exercise if you're in a lot of pain, and it makes it a little bit easier as well. So leaning away from your legs makes this exercise easier, and then leaning towards your leg makes it tougher. The first 30 seconds will be lifting the back foot, holding, squeezing, driving your heel up to the ceiling. Then the next 30 seconds will be lifting your knee as well, holding, again, driving your heel to the ceiling, keeping that knee off of the ground. And then the last 30 seconds, you're gonna lean down to your elbow like this, and then extend that leg out, again, driving your heel up to the ceiling, getting a really deep burn in those outer hip muscles. And remember, 30 seconds each, and don't forget to do both sides. The next exercise is a banded hip adduction, getting some work into those inner thigh muscles. So place a band around your ankle, anchor it to something sturdy, straighten your leg out in front of you, and make sure that there's tension on the band with your foot outside of your hip, okay? Then you're gonna drive your ankle inward, and I like to hold this position for about 20 to 30 seconds because this seems to get a really good burn in those muscles. And just making sure, keep that leg locked out, hold this position, squeeze, 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 and then switch sides. Last exercise is the back extension. This is probably the most important one, and this is the one that may cause the most issues, and it may take the longest for you to work towards this 2-minute goal pain-free. So I'll start by showing you the goal, which is holding this position with the pad below your hips, no assistance, for 2 minutes, keeping your body in a straight line, okay? I know that when I started this after my flare-up, I needed the pad up to about here, and I needed to use assistance, and I also couldn't extend my spine all the way. I was actually bent over a little bit because full extension caused a lot of pain and issue there. Okay, so that's the goal. Now I'm gonna show you how you can do this exercise at a very, very light level to get started early. Now most back extensions don't adjust high enough, so what you can do is put your feet on the ground, lean forward, and this is gonna support your chest and help you get into this position so you can activate those spine muscles, okay? Another reason why this is really important is because you're activating those muscles that are closest to the pain. And they may be the muscles that are sensitive, crampy, or spasming and are the issue. So this will build trust in those muscles as they contract, as blood flow comes in, and this will help really flush out all of the inflammation from the injury, as well as bring a lot of healing to the area. So you can start here, chest supported, using assistance. Now before you progress to going with the pad below your hips, really focus on driving your belly button into the bench and not using any assistance. This is gonna help you make this a little bit more difficult to bridge the gap between this level and the next level. Then with the pad below your hips, very gently get into the position, feel it out, using assistance as much as you possibly can. If your back extension doesn't have handles, you can place a bench in front of you like this, and you can use this to assist yourself. Starting out, the goal is to go slow and really focus on squeezing those muscles at the top of each rep if you can, because this will get you a better muscle burn and will bring the most blood flow. These 4 exercises are flooding the hips and the lower spine and all of the muscles and all of the tendons and ligaments and all of that tissue in and around the spine with blood and life and healing and removing all of the inflammation and getting those muscles safely working, building trust with those muscles. Because if you simply just rest without moving these muscles, you're gonna spend 1 to 2 weeks to a month without actively engaging all of these muscles, and it's gonna be hard for them to engage properly after you don't have any pain. This will lead to more pain, more injuries, more flare-ups down the road. Once you are able to do those 4 exercises for 1 set each, getting a really good muscle burn, now it's time to start the next phase, which is regaining your range of motion and strength. Your top priorities are now blood flow, build your stretch strength, introduce these 4 movements at your pain-free level, and do not aggravate your pain. Of the previous exercises, I recommend you go through the sled, the calf exercises if you'd like once, and then the hip flexor raise, the outer hip burnout, and the hip adduction for 1 to 2 sets before you go to these 4 exercises, because those will bring a lot of blood flow, warm up the areas so you can get the best results from these 4 exercises that I will go through next. Now with those 3 warm-up exercises, the goal is to get stronger and stronger and stronger in those. For the hip flexor raise, you can start adding a little bit of weight by using a kettlebell on your foot or using something like a monkey foot that you can strap to your foot and use dumbbells to add weight this way. For the outer hip burnout, you probably don't need to progress in weight because you can progress by leaning towards those muscles. But if you would like to progress in weight, you can place a small weight plate on your heel and increase your strength this way. For the hip adduction, you can work towards the Copenhagen plank, starting with your knee fully supported, keeping your hip and your shoulder in a straight line, holding for about 20 seconds, and then progressing below the knee and working towards getting towards your foot. Now that you have how to progress those exercises, let's get into those 4 that build stretch strength. And stretch strength is building your strength through your flexibility. It's getting into stretched positions and then using your strength to get out of those positions to build your strength in that position. The first exercise is the ATG split squat, and you can start with a lot of foot elevation. The higher the elevation, the less flexibility is required to get into this position. Now, focus on squeezing that back leg straight by squeezing your glute and your quads, pushing through both big toes, and getting comfortable in this bottom position. You can use assistance, some form of assistance. It's really nice to do this in a stairwell. It's a great place to start that almost everybody has access to. And I like doing 5 nice and slow, controlled reps to get used to this bottom position. Okay. Then as you become more comfortable, you can lower the elevation of the front foot to increase the strength that you need. And this requires more flexibility, because if I'm really restricted in my hips, I'm not gonna be able to really get into this position. My knee is gonna touch the elevation or the floors, and that's not going to build strength in this hip because this back leg is resting. I need that back knee at least off of the ground, focusing on straightening it, keeping it active. And you can progress to flat ground. The next one is called the piriformis push-up, okay? In this 90-90 position that we were in with the outer hip burnout, we're gonna focus on stretching and strengthening the front side, okay? To do this, place both hands on either side of your knee and then lower your chest to wherever you feel a stretch in those outer hip muscles, okay? Once you feel a stretch, you're gonna push your knee down into the ground, down into the floor to lift yourself back up, using as little assistance as you need, but using enough assistance so you don't experience any pain in this position. Now work towards getting your chest to touch your knee, pushing your body up for 20 reps on each side. The next exercise is the butterfly, scooting your butt all the way up to the wall, bringing your feet in as close as comfortable. Then you're gonna drive your belly button forward, getting your lower back off of the wall. And you're gonna feel that tension and that stretch in those inner thigh muscles. From here, you're gonna work on getting comfortable in this position, driving your knees down, and then lifting them back up, using your strength of those inner thigh muscles to lift your legs up. Make it tougher. You can push down on your knees, adding some resistance, or you can use dumbbells to add a little bit of resistance as well. I like 20 reps, getting a good stretch in the bottom and squeezing in the top. This one has been a game changer for me because if those inner thigh muscles are tight, you're gonna see a lot of lower back rounding when you go to squat down, when you go to sit down, and that's a little bit more of a vulnerable position. So opening up those inner thigh muscles can keep you in a stronger position throughout your day. The fourth exercise is the back extension. The last objective was getting towards 2 minutes holding this position. Now we're gonna work towards incorporating movement and getting 20 reps. Focusing on getting a full range of motion, leaning down with your head, relaxing the arms in the bottom position, and then leading up with your head on the way up into a straight line. Getting to 20 reps will more than likely take you a while, especially doing them like this. Now, you may not start doing reps like that. You may start using assistance and just going as deep as you can without pain, and then really squeezing your glutes and your lower back at the top, feeling a little bit of a stretch, and then back up. If rounding forward is a little painful, you can focus on driving your belly button down the whole time to keep your back straight, and you're gonna get a good stretch in your hamstrings without going all the way down this way. So as comfortable, use assistance until you can get pretty much all the way down, and then work towards unassisted all the way down, and then focus on the intention to tuck the chin, lead down with your arms and your head, and then lead up with your head on the way up. Go through these 4 exercises for 1 to 3 sets, and make sure to stop at a place where you feel good. This is not a time to push your strength, to push your limits, and this isn't a time to focus on really increasing your range of motion. After a flare-up, it's a sensitive time, and building your stretch strength is focusing on the most vulnerable positions. It is focusing on stretched positions that are weak. Now, building your strength over time in these stretched positions will help you build a lot of protection in these vulnerable areas. And this will really help you move the needle in favor of a pain-free life. This will help your hips and your lower back feel much, much better every single day. The more time that you put into these exercises, the more you focus on intention of getting a pain-free workout in. And if your attention and your focus and your energy and your time is focused on mastering the exercises, your strength and the weight will automatically go up, so you don't even have to worry about that. I hope that this flare-up formula brings you some peace of mind if some back pain shows up in your life. And I hope that you use it, because inevitably back pain will show up in your life. And the more important thing is that you have the tools to heal, to recover as fast as you possibly can, and to get out of pain and become better than you were before your flare-up. If you use this formula, if you focus on these exercises, I promise you, you will heal and recover much faster from your flare-ups. You will reduce how often they occur, and after a certain amount of time, you may even prevent them from ever happening again. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.